Thank you, Mr Speaker. I move the motion circulated in my name. At a time of
Order,
chaos,
members. Order. Member for Maroochydore.
At a time of chaos and crisis, with cost of living, health, housing and infrastructure and crime, this Labor government's priorities are wrong and they are making things worse. This Labor government boasts about growth, but growth without timely infrastructure and services is causing hardship and pain that is seeing record numbers of people living in tents, unable to pay their rent or facing home invasions and car theft, and congested roads, ambulance ramping at their local hospitals, and all due to this government's wrong priorities and a failure to plan and deliver. All crises have a lead time, and after nearly 9 years of government, this Labor Premier and her cabinet can't try and blame everything on COVID or the Ukraine war anymore. It just doesn't wash. The chaos and crisis has happened under this Labor government's watch, with unaccountable ministers such as Transport Minister Bailey, who's blown billions of dollars with no consequences for their jobs, who laugh it off as if it's not important to Queenslanders. Well, try telling that to someone whose rent has gone up 62% in the last few years on the Sunshine Coast since this government took office. That blowing budgets doesn't matter when ordinary Queenslanders and Sunshine Coast residents are paying through the nose, and now too many are living in tents and in housing distress. The hikes in rents due to the housing supply shortage and disastrously low rental vacancies of less than 1% is due to a lack of housing supply and a government that simply didn't pay attention and dropped the ball, multiple failures that are now causing great hardship. But there are many areas of failure and hardship that we see as a result of this government. This Minister Bailey hasn't been held to account by the Premier. He is untouchable, and yet this is a Premier who is out of touch. And if she can't hold her cabinet to account to deliver the services and infrastructure that are needed, then how on earth can she solve the problems that we're seeing? And on the Sunshine Coast, try telling people who've suffered injury or lost loved ones at the black spot on the Mooloolah River interchange, the Sunshine Motorway Nicklin Way interchange, whose upgrade now is on the chopping block due to Labor cuts. Try telling someone on the Sunshine Coast hinterland that these things don't matter when their house is invaded, who are worrying about whether their children will be safe to sleep in their own beds at night, who've lost more than just their work vehicle. They've lost their peace and ability to feel safe in their own homes. Try telling people that the way that this government's mismanaged infrastructure doesn't really matter when you want people, when people want to see true legacy projects from the Olympics, such as rail to Maroochydore CBD at the heart of the Sunshine Coast, where passenger rail connected the South East Queensland Transport Network and Brisbane. But we've only heard more delays and excuses from this government that has not got on board, and yet they were silent when there were cuts looming with the freeze with their federal colleagues, and now the cuts have happened. They have failed to go into fight in a timely way. They've let people down. The chaos and crisis has happened on their watch. But we also see people stuck in traffic, facing injury at black spots, and a government that's failed to invest in a timely way in addressing these issues. And yet, when it comes to the Gabba knockdown and rebuild, with a huge cost blowout from a $1 billion build to a $2.7 billion build, and still we don't know what the upper limit is, this government won't be held to account. So where are the members for Nicklin and for Caloundra and for Palmerston when there's been these Labor cuts to critical infrastructure on the Sunshine Coast? Like their colleagues in the ministry, they have been silent because they have the wrong priorities. They are not fighting for Queensland and they are not listening to the people. Queensland deserves a brighter future with the right priorities, and the LNP is committed to making our community safer, easier access to health services, saving you paying for Labor's failures, securing our housing foundations and working harder for Queenslanders. Show Labor the door in 2024.
Deputy.